Know what bioluminescence is? Picture this. You're standing on a quiet beach at night, the air cool and the world reduced to the sound of waves and the soft scrape of sand. You kick the water and the surf answers with tiny blue sparks, as if someone has shaken a jar of stars into the sea. That feeling of surprise and wonder is exactly what we're chasing tonight as we explore bioluminescent worlds. I'm Professor Paula, and this is Dumb It Up. Bioluminescence is light produced by living organisms through a chemical reaction inside their bodies. It's a form of chemiluminescence where a molecule is excited and then releases energy as visible light. And this phenomenon is especially common in the ocean. Most bioluminescent systems use two basic players, a light-producing molecule often called luciferin and an enzyme called luciferase that helps the reaction proceed. Oxygen and sometimes cellular energy molecules like adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, are involved, and the reaction creates an excited intermediate that emits a photon when it relaxes, which is the light we see. Why does life bother to glow? Evolution tends to favor traits that help survival or reproduction, and bioluminescence serves several clear functions: attracting mates, luring prey, confusing or deterring predators, and communicating or camouflaging in low light. Fireflies use patterned flashes to find mates. Some deep-sea predators use glowing lures to draw prey close, and other animals use steady or patterned light to signal to each other or to erase their silhouette against faint downwelling light, a trick called counter-illumination. On land, the most familiar glow comes from fireflies. Their flashes are controlled by specialized cells and nervous signals, and the light is produced with very high efficiency, so the insects don't heat up while glowing, which is part of why people find them so enchanting. In the ocean, tiny plankton called dinoflagellates often make waves sparkle when they're disturbed, creating those liquid star beaches people travel to see. Though some blooms can also produce toxins, so glowing water can sometimes signal ecological stress. Down in the deep sea, where sunlight never reaches, bioluminescence becomes a primary language of life. Many animals produce their own light, and others host glowing bacteria in specialized organs. The anglerfish famously dangles a luminous lure to attract prey, and researchers keep discovering new light-based adaptations as they explore deeper waters. Color matters in water. Blue and blue-green dominate because those wavelengths travel farthest through seawater. Red light is absorbed quickly, so it's rarely used by deep-sea organisms unless it serves a very local purpose. And on land, fireflies often glow yellow-green because that color works well in the air for signaling. The specific color an organism produces depends on the chemistry of its luciferin, the structure of its light organ, and the visual needs of its environment.
Clicking that subscribe button will help our channel. Now, on to the rest of the episode.
Bioluminescence has evolved independently many times across different groups of organisms, which makes it a classic example of convergent evolution. Unrelated lineages arrive at similar solutions because glowing is such a useful trick in low-light environments. And that repeated evolution also means scientists keep finding new luciferins and luciferases that expand the toolkit for research and technology. Humans have borrowed the glow for practical uses. Bioluminescent proteins and enzymes are used as markers in medical research to track cells and gene expression without destroying samples. Luciferase-based assays detect tiny amounts of biological activity, and bioluminescent reporters serve as sensitive biosensors for pollutants or toxins. These tools take advantage of the glow's sensitivity and the ease of detecting light. If you want to picture specific scenes, imagine a bay that lights up when a kayak cuts through it because dinoflagellates flash when disturbed. Imagine a forest clearing where thousands of fireflies synchronize their flashes into waves of light. And imagine the ocean's midnight zone, where strange fish and squid carry built-in lanterns to hunt and hide. Each scene shows a different ecological use of light. A quick, safe demonstration you can show on camera is a chemiluminescent reaction like a glow stick, to illustrate the basic idea that a chemical reaction can produce light. Use it as an analogy for luciferin and luciferase, and emphasize safety. There are also human stories tied to these lights. Glowing waters and firefly displays have inspired myths and local legends. They've shaped how communities relate to the night, and they often become conservation symbols because people want to protect the places that produce such wonder. Protecting bioluminescent habitats means reducing pollution, managing coastal development, and limiting artificial light that can interfere with organisms that rely on darkness for signaling. Scientists study bioluminescence with a mix of fieldwork and lab techniques. Night surveys, submersibles, and remote cameras reveal behavior in natural settings, while molecular biology and chemistry reveal the genes and reactions behind the light. Advances in imaging and genetics continue to uncover new species and biochemical systems. A short personal moment. Once I paddled in a bay that glowed when the water moved. I dipped my hand and watched the light bloom like tiny fireworks. My dad pretended he'd caught a star, and I pretended to be surprised. And later, a local guide explained the glow came from tiny plankton disturbed by our paddles. That explanation somehow made the moment even more magical, because knowing the science didn't make it less beautiful. For you budding scientists, when filming at night, keep the lights low. Use red filters to preserve night vision, and respect local rules and habitats so the act of documenting doesn't harm the very scenes you want to share. So before we wrap up, a few quick answers to common questions. Humans don't naturally produce bioluminescent light, but scientists can use bioluminescent genes as tools in the lab to make cells light up under certain conditions. Most bioluminescent organisms are harmless, though some plankton blooms can be toxic, so avoid contact with dense blooms. And not all animals use bioluminescence because evolving a light-producing system requires specific chemistry and ecological pressures that aren't present everywhere. Bioluminescence sits at the intersection of beauty and function. Each glow is a solution to a survival problem, a story of evolution, and a tool for science. And for anyone who loves the night, it's a reminder that the dark is not empty, but full of surprising light. And on that note, I think I'll wrap this one up. I hope you enjoyed learning about that big fancy word. I'm glad you could make it, and I hope you come again for another episode of whatever I find interesting enough to talk about. Until then, this has been Dumb It Up. Have a great day.